Hey, everybody. Recruiting Animal here on August 5, 2015. August 5, 2015. I had a little trouble logging in this morning, but I'm here now. And I want to tell you about an article I read on Staffing Talk this week about building rapport. The author is a guy named Scott Moorfield, and he said that he used to manage a recruiter who had a lot of no-shows. Her candidates would accept the job, and then they wouldn't turn up. So he watched her for a while, and he decided the problem was the way she spoke to her candidates. She was too businesslike, he said, and that meant she was very unemotional and impersonal. And because of that, she didn't make the candidates care about her as a person. She had no humanity, right? So when they had second thoughts about taking that job, they just didn't call her because to them, she was just a robot. So he advised her, look, speak to candidates the same way you talk to your friends at the office. And she did. She tried to talk to them in a more lively manner, and she tried to feed back some of what they said to her to show that she understood them and she sympathized with them. Scott, the author, he says that you have to do that with your clients as well because, you know, you're going to screw up sometimes. You're going to send them a candidate who isn't right, or you're going to place someone who leaves in the first month. But if they like you, they're going to give you some leeway because they'll consider the whole relationship instead of one bad transaction. You know I'm talking about building rapport. That's Scott's view. I myself, however, favor the business-like approach. Some people, you know, they're natural puppy dogs. They want to hug you and kiss you all over. But if you're not like that, sucking up to people is degrading. You don't like it. You don't feel good when you do that. You know, you want to be able to deliver bad news. If you're sincere, you want to be able to deliver bad news without going through a big song and dance to make yourself seem like a nice person, even though you're telling them that they're no good. And even if you're not saying they're no good, you're telling them they're not wanted, right? And you also want people to judge you by what you do for them, not by who you are. So, you know, you don't have to give them Christmas gifts. You have to do your job right. Now, I admit, this might not be a good idea in all people facing jobs. We had a prime minister, very famous, named Pierre Trudeau. Even some of you down in the States might have heard of him. And when he first came in to politics, he thought he could campaign for office on the basis of his policies alone, rather than, you know, appearing at public events like pancake breakfast and kissing babies. And you know what? He was proved wrong. So maybe I'm wrong too. I don't know. But we'll find out on Jerry, what show is this? Jerry's not here. But let me play the shout. I had a lot of, oh, there it is. Here we go.
The Recruiting Animal Show.
Thank you, Jerry! Thank you! Okay, you know what happened? I tried to get into Blog Talk Radio, and these days I usually log in with Skype with a headset. But I discovered, since, you know, they don't let you in till 15 minutes before the show, I discovered that there is no Skype anymore. You can't get in with Skype. You have to use their lousy Direct Connect. And Direct Connect just kept processing me, and it didn't let me get in. So then I tried to phone in with Skype, and I got a busy signal. Now I'm just on a regular phone. Everything gets screwed up. But there's one good thing, everybody, about me logging in late. We're not going to sing. I'm not in the mood. I'm just going to introduce the guest, the famous Matt Charney. Matt, are you there?
I am. How are you today, sir?
Well, I'm screwed up. I'm upset, okay? I don't like it. Every time I log in, there's something new. There's some problem. You'd think after all these years I could get on the show without any screw-ups. It always happens. But you know what? If you wanted to sing a song just to warm us up, I mean, that's okay. Did you pick a song?
I actually picked a few selections of hip-hop from Snoop Dogg, but we'll save that just in case it comes up later in the conversation.
No. Do you have a song? I'm ready to do it with you, but I don't know any hip-hop songs. Last week it was the most popular song ever, though. Guy did a hip-hop song.
Theme for Hockey Night in Canada or Kids in the Hall, and I also don't know the Molson jingle.
I can barely hear you!
Yeah,
hey, can anybody hear this guy?
Hey, Michael, I'm on
If there was a problem, yo, I solved it. Check out the hook where my DJ revolved it.
Yeah, that's cool as that's right there, Dylan.
Was that you?
No, that wasn't. I wish it was.
Who was that?
Don't push me, 'cause I'm close to the edge.
And I am trying not to lose my head.
Okay, let's go on. Let's just move on. Let's move on. Look, I got to ask you. I'm just going to dive right in, Matt. Thank you, whoever that was. Appreciate any singers on the show. Matt, does being short make you irreverent and funny? You know, like you are known for being a funny, snarky guy. Snark Something is the title of your own personal blog. And that's usually the result, in my experience, of being a resentful outsider. So is being a short person, a short kid and now a short man, the source of your attitude?
Yeah, well, obviously having a Napoleonic complex really influences everything I do. But I think that the real genetics that are pushing my snarky disposition, dry wit, and general pitching happens to come from the Ashkenazi Jewish side, which is to say that...
Look, don't be racist on this show. I'm not going to tolerate that. Can anybody hear this guy? He keeps fading in and out from me. Can anybody hear him?
He starts strong and then he fades away mid-sentence.
Yeah, Alejandro's backing me up. He's not criticizing me.
No,
I'm right. What are you on? What kind of phone are you on?
I am on AT&T, which is like Rogers gone ghetto, Michael. So I apologize for my fine flagship telecom area.
So you're saying that you're funny because you're Jewish. Okay. I know a lot of Jewish people aren't very funny, okay? So there you go.
It's true. My family being a great example. But as Bill Borman said, and I think this is true, before I met you, I never realized that Woody Allen was making documentaries. So there you have it.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, my friend Anthony told me that, big kids, he's fairly short. When he was at school, the big kids, they pick on small kids. The bullies, they're not looking for people their own size. They're looking for little guys so they can dominate them. And so, was that true for you?
What's actually interesting, I think this extends to my current trolling, where nobody ever fights back, and that is I have literally spent my entire life trying to get into a fist fight or an altercation because I think it'd be badass, right? And a good story. The thing is, when you're 5 foot nothing, nobody will take you on because it just makes them look bad. So
okay, but let me just let's make that a little bit more professional. Is height a diversity issue? Okay, because we know in social life, tall girls, they're prejudiced. They don't want to go out with shorter guys. I've gone out with a number of tall women, and they told me they won't go out with people who are shorter than them, right? Does that work on jobs as well? Is it harder for short guys to get jobs? And should that be legislated or prescribed, rather, by the government?
I guess it would really depend on the market, right? Because in Japan, I'm a giant.
Okay, we're not talking about Japan. See, I hate it when people, they bring in irrelevant stuff. In the United States, is it harder to get a job if you're short? Is that prejudice? Is it illegal, or should it be a legal diversity issue? No other show has covered it. I want it on this one.
There are a lot of studies out there that prove that it is harder to get promotions and you're going to make less money when you're short. It's harder to get.
Yeah, is it true?
There's a ton of data on that.
It?
You know what?
How are you going to prove it, though?
I don't know if it's true because I really can't see up to know what's going on. Anything.
Well, you got to ask: are
short
people better entrepreneurs because they're banned from corporate stuff in the 50s, 60s, and 70s? Are they better at running their own companies? It's a trade-off.
Are they, Jim? Jets Jim Durbin?
I don't know. I mean, it's all anecdotal.
Okay. Final. these are the warm-up questions, and I just needed them because I was so upset. But do people? You go to a lot of conferences, Matt. Do people hate you when you really do needle people online? Talent chat. I mean, you really say nasty things about them. When you go to these conferences, do you meet the people that you needle on Twitter, and do they hate you?
When I go to conferences, generally the people who tend to use Twitter as a platform don't have the thought leader cachet, I would say, to pay out of pocket to stand in front of a room of HR professionals and go through a PowerPoint. So no, I generally don't know them there, but if I don't know somebody, I generally won't pick on them in line at all. So, that's like no answer.
Did you say that the people you pick on are people you know you're never going to meet?
No, I pick on people I've already met. I wouldn't call somebody out just based off what they're doing on a social network. It's when I meet them in real life and they turn out to be just as big of an idiot in person as they are in their online persona, that's when they become fair play.
Yeah, I don't understand what you said. That was a lousy answer. I hope it picks up, okay? Your sound is bad. You're giving me evasive answers. They're not clear. I'm really worried because there was a lot of people looking forward to this. I posted another interview that you did with Thug Metrics. Jody Garrison commented on it. She said that hearing that recruiters are afraid of math, which is what you said, they're afraid to be held accountable, and they're short-sighted. She said that was an unpleasant way to wake up this morning. Do you believe what you said? And don't give me a long run-on answer. Be direct. Pick me up. Hey, make this a good show because it's already in trouble.
I'll tell you this. If recruiters were inclined to do math and had any propensity towards anything on the quantitative side of the house, they'd be in way better jobs than this. This is where liberal arts majors go to.
Okay, well, there's a lot of, there was a big article that got RT'd a lot, retweeted a lot, and it was saying that liberal arts degrees are the hot new item in Silicon Valley. And the example they gave was this guy, Stuart Butterfield, who founded Flickr and now Slack. He's got a master's degree from Cambridge. And that's the proof they offered that your stinky liberal arts BA from your state college is going to get you a job with some IT startup. That's not true, is it, Matt?
Well, it's gotten you a job with IT staffing firms, so I don't understand why hiring people with a proven skill set and a decent education is a bad idea if they have the propensity to learn.
Yeah, geez, your sound is so terrible. That's a good way to wreck a show. Okay, here's another thing that you commented on. Boolean strings, okay? Yeah, Glenn Cathy said you wrote an argument against the importance of Boolean strings in sourcing, and he said you were entertaining, but your arguments were not sound. And he calls himself the Boolean black belt. And I want to know if you experienced any shrinkage when he went after you.
No, I actually saw an increase in traffic because he's legit.
Yeah, okay, but did you feel like did he demolish you? Do you have an argument? Do you think Glenn Cathy was wrong that you could hold your own against him in a discussion about Boolean strings?
Look, I think that Glenn knows way more about Boolean strings than I do if you want to get down to the brass tacks and all the modifiers and all the stuff you can do with them. But that said, I don't think that his approach is the same way that the average recruiter is using Boolean, and I think the average recruiter often wastes their time trying to emulate the Glenn Cathys of the world, where they can just go into Google, type a phrase that they're looking for intuitively, click the feeling lucky button, and save themselves a lot of time.
Okay. Does anybody agree with him about that? I mean, there's some people online who must use Boolean strings.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is it?
Alan Fleur.
Alan, you agree with Matt that you don't have to be an expert in Boolean strings to do good sourcing?
I think it helps, but Matt makes a good point to start out on Google because most recruiters are lazy and they won't take the time to learn how to really do it right and screw themselves up.
Yeah, I don't understand how that justifies Matt's point of view. Lazy people do it his way. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, I think people are so bad that I could usually double their LinkedIn results. If I can double their LinkedIn results, I'm sure they're not good at Boolean.
Hold on. Yeah, but he says you don't have to be good at Boolean. You guys are disagreeing with him, and you're saying you agree with him.
The better you get at Boolean, the more you realize that most of these search engines aren't optimized for it anymore.
I agree with him.
So Boolean, Alejandro says Boolean is not something that's going to bring you better results. Is that what you just said, Alejandro?
I said the better you get at it, the more you realize you have to almost work around the most popular search engine, Google. It's not set up to support strong Boolean search.
Okay, so Glenn Cathy, you're saying he really knows less about Boolean search than this non-recruiter, Matt Charney, this little punk?
No. Giant list. That's much different than recruiting.
Okay, I don't know what we're talking about now, and I can't hear half of you anyway, okay? Okay, we're moving into the real topic. It's 20 minutes into the show. This guy's the king of content marketing. I mean, at least that's how I always figured he bills himself. But when I started writing stuff to him on Twitter today about content marketing, he says, what are you bringing up that for? That's old hat. Is content marketing old hat, Matt Charney?
I think that content marketing is old hat. I think content is a broader concept as anything but.
Oy vey, don't give me this kind of crap. I'm not here for a Talmudic discussion. What's the difference between content and content marketing?
Content marketing tries to sell a product or service. Content tries to sell an idea or advance the conversation.
What a crappy answer that is. Okay, you said content marketing seeks to sell without selling, okay? And the bad content marketing is the stuff that's a thinly veiled sales pitch. That's why so much of it is crap. But really, you're saying that people don't read ads. So what you do is give them an interesting little story to read and then somehow position your company as something they would want to click on after. Essentially, that's it. You give them a little candy and they like you and check you out. Is that true or not?
Yes, it's true to the extent where the only
Say something's yes or false, true or no. Hey, don't give me any BS answers here. Lay it on the line. I'm in a bad mood.
When simplified to that point, Animal, I 100% agree with you.
What? I can't hear anybody.
Maybe
this show's off the rails. Okay, you also say content creation is... I read your book, okay? I don't know if anybody else did. It's pretty good. You said content creation is easy. You just need to learn a few simple tricks of the trade that are proven to turn passive viewers into candidates. That's right, folks. A few simple tips is all it takes to generate content that will capture the attention of a candidate who's probably not even looking for a job. That's what you promise.
And that's what I'll stand by, Michael. So when in that book, you'll see I don't limit content to just written long-form pieces. It includes things like job descriptions. And I would make the argument that having a compelling, well-written job description is going to lead to more conversions in terms of candidates starting and finishing an application than a bullet-pointed list. I would say that a video...
Okay, you know what? First of all, nobody can hear you. Nobody can hear you. Secondly, I don't know what you're saying. I'll give you some bullet questions that you can... Titles with lists. Is everybody does it. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? I think it's a bad idea. It doesn't make you stand out if everybody's publishing on Twitter the same kind of titles with 10 steps to do this and 11 steps to do that. Are they good or bad? Give me a clear, straight answer.
Bad. And I will say that I hate top 10 lists where it's lazy content. So today on Recruiting Daily, we just published a 7,200-word long-form feature that is an extended allegory from Dante by Derek Zeller. Now, that is kind of the antithesis of a top 10 list. I'm sure will be read less than one of those, throwaway pieces of content. But at the same time, what I think the goal of good writing and value-added content is to challenge people to think, not to give them pat answers, and that's all top 10 lists are.
Okay, so how come all the other content marketing articles say that people love lists and they love numbered lists? How come? Are they all wrong?
Is it easy to say that, and it's stupid? It's so easy to be uncreative.
Hey, Matt, nobody can hear you anyway. Let Alejandro answer the question, will you? Go ahead, Alejandro. Alejandro, go ahead.
It's so easy to say that and just throw that out there, and people are going to read it on Pulse or wherever else. And it's easy to bang out, here's 5 things you need to know to be a crappy interviewer, and that's it.
Okay. So is that a good idea? Is that a good idea, Alejandro, or a bad one? Should you be writing, stuff like imitating
noise.
Dante? I didn't read that article.
It's just noise. Me too. That's all it is.
Well, it's also worth millions of eyeballs and has a much bigger effect than the 7,200-word allegory on Dante. That's
in this case, I sure have to agree. And So Jim Durbin, he supports those numbered list articles.
I hate them. It doesn't mean that they're not effective.
Okay, yeah. So it's just like if you listen to the worst songs on AM radio or whatever radio it is these days, and you think this is garbage, but it's the most popular thing in the country. It's the same kind of idea. You want to make money.
There's a formula for pop songs. It's a mathematical formula. They broke a long time ago. They know exactly what to do. It's the same thing for writing content. It's still bubblegum. It's just fake content, but it makes a lot of money, and it drives a lot. So it doesn't mean it's right. It just means that people,
But Matt has a great point.
Matt
has a great point when he says, even though that stuff is out there and it works, if you have compelling content, that's much more effective because people are going to keep returning to something that's original and fresh.
Well, I got to tell you something. First of all, addressing what Jim said, Matt has an article on his personal blog about how to write a blog posting for recruiting, and he maps it out as if he doesn't really believe it, that it's garbage. But when you read his ebook, which is good, and it's free, by the way, I recommend it. When you read his ebook, you see that he follows his own advice, and I'll be bringing it in later if I get a chance. He pulls all these percentages out of his tuchus and throws them at you, and then I already read that little intro where he says, I can, teach you all this in just a few seconds, and stuff like that. He does understand that there's a format, and certainly, some parodies of Dante are not among them. So he might say one thing to us right now, but when it comes to writing his own stuff, that's not what he does. He does what Jim said works.
No, that's not fair. He has different voices that he writes in, and occasionally throwing that long piece lets the smart people know he's got the smart. And he didn't write the long piece, but.
And I heard he's on the show. We should let him speak.
If he called on a decent phone, if he called on a good phone, we might hear him, Alejandro. We get a cover for him. Go ahead, Matt. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, here's what I would like to say, is if your goal is to, the old post and pray of content marketing, which is I care about generating as many impressions and eyeballs and leads as possible, then absolutely the top 10 dispensable bullshit lists are the way to go. But if your goal is, again, to gain trust, to have people continue to come back and actually get relevant, qualified leads that are going to end up being customers or candidates, then I would advocate to do the other approach, because what you're doing is you're screening by virtue of the presentation of that content. So sure, you can post an ad and get 1,400, 2,000 resumes submitted, but, you only have to make one hire, and if none of them are qualified, what good does that do you in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So you know what? You took 2 minutes to get to a 10-second point. Don't do that anymore, okay? Matt he says it in his book as well, which I want him to tell us how people can get a copy of that free 35-page ebook. But he says quite clearly that if you have a blog, for instance, that's department-oriented in your company, and they have some employees talking about the projects they're working on, that's not going to bring in tons of applications, but the applications it brings in are going to be much, much better, high-quality candidates and more likely to convert into hires than even a job posting, which is directed to the same audience, presumably. Is that right, Matt?
Yes, but I think where those really come in handy the most is not to generate applications, but to pique the interest and pre-close the qualified applicants who've already submitted for a position.
Well, what does that mean? Here's something you keep saying, and I'm jumping all over the place. I'm not following my schedule here, but you keep saying that there's different kinds of material that you want candidates to read at different steps in the hiring process. what does that mean exactly? Because that's what you just seem to be saying right now.
Right. Now, if I apply for a job, I'm going to want information about basics on the company, right? Just what I need to know about the job, an overview of information, and just kind of top-level detail. Whereas if I'm considering an offer that's already been extended, then I'm very interested in things like benefits packages, the way the compensation is structured, tangible opportunities for advancement, what a day in the life at apartment really looks like. So at different stages, I'm considering and screening against different qualifications, very much the same as hiring teams would do as they move a candidate from sourcing to selection.
Hold on. You mean when somebody's in the process, after the first interview, for instance, you're going to say, I'm going to send this guy some literature about the benefits we have and the opportunities for advancement, things I didn't say at the beginning to attract him or her?
I would go into more detail, and then I would reiterate that content, because the average job seeker just wants to get through that 40-minute Taleo application, is unlikely to take the time at that point to go through all of your stupid videos and employer branding collateral that's sitting on the site. So making sure that they have that information is a great touch point and a way to just drive home.
Hold on a second. Let's talk about third-party recruiters for a second, because I want some feedback from the people on the line. If you recruit somebody, you send him or her out for the first interview. Should the recruiter, who's smart, then be shoving a bunch of new marketing material, emailing it out to that candidate that he didn't send before? Anybody?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually what Harry Joyner did so successfully. He talks to you, he gets it set up. When he decides to submit you, he FedEx you a packet. And then he checks to make sure you read it so that you're prepared. So he has different levels of information going out depending where you are in the process, so that you're very clear and that you're prepared, but you can also judge how prepared you are.
Okay, like Harry Joyner is a very smart guy. What he discovered was, we all used to blog every day. What Harry discovered, marketingheadhunter.com, ecommercejobs.com, he's been on the show a number of times. He discovered that once you've got enough content on your blog, you don't have to blog every day, maybe even once a month or once every few weeks. And the stuff comes up in Google. It shows people that you've got expertise, and they'll get in touch with you. He also had some other ideas I won't get into. But what Jim is saying now is that he sends an interview kit. That's not that far out. That's not so wild, is it? Is it, Jim? What is it?
How many people do that? And that's the whole point of employment branding.
What's in the interview kit? What's in the interview kit? What's in the interview kit that's different from the job description?
On the company, descriptions of the managers themselves, better insight on how things work, who you report to. You don't post everything on the first job.
Okay.
And it's different for executive search than like hiring a $60,000 person too. I don't know the specifics in his kit.
So he does the research. He does the company research that the candidate should be doing on his or her own, and spoon feeds it to them before the interview. Essentially, that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
No, it's not.
That's what you said.
No, it isn't. That's not what he said.
And even if it is, the job of an agency recruiter is to make that candidate as successful as possible when they go into any job situation. So,
and the candidate isn't going to do that. A candidate isn't going to do that to the same level. They're not professional interviewers.
And the candidate doesn't know as much as the recruiter knows about the company.
And they can't find out on their own, Alan Fleur?
The alternative is you let them find out on your own and hope and pray they did just as good a job as you would have done.
Okay, and what we do is we can give them a roadmap and guideposts to be as successful in that interview as possible. When you're saying, Animal, throw them out to the wolves, give them a spear, and good luck and God bless. What are you? When was the last time you did third-party recruiting, Animal? That's what I'd like to know.
Hold on a second. No, wait a second. I'm setting this up. I've got a strategy here. So he's saying that you present different materials at different stages in the hiring process. Matt Charney, we're talking right now about sending out some material before the interview. You were talking about sending it out after the interview, right?
I think you send it out both times. I think one is to prepare, and then one's to prepare for next steps or add additional insight into the process. But either way, when you tell a candidate to do it themselves, and I'm a candidate, I go into Google and I type job interview tips, I run the risk of getting some crappy SEO optimized content from a vendor that's only existence is to drive traffic and submittals into a job board database. I don't want them using those tips. I want them using the tips that are going to help them actually get that job.
Okay. What do you send them after the second interview?
I think that's when you start talking about benefits, salary, and pre-closing. I'll obviously do that throughout the process, but that's really where I think you start.
Okay, but the thing is, you're talking about marketing materials. What format is this image stuff coming in? Just stuff from HR about the benefits?
So I think that if you use even an ebook approach to sending these PDFs, make it design friendly, make it easy to read, make it consumable, not huge chunks of text. That's content marketing. It's a downloadable asset.
Okay,
talk about the use of humor too.
Publicly.
Okay, but his big shtick, his thing is tell stories because we're hardwired. He says, I posted it on Twitter. We're hardwired to react to stories, and he says so. Use your current employees to tell their stories, department by department. Like make it really niche oriented. Your marketing material. So. Here we're just talking about benefits. Do you send them out a dry sheet of information from HR about benefits, or do you send them a video of some? Hold on. Do you send them a video of someone talking about the time they had an operation and the benefits for the company covered them? I mean, what are we talking about here?
I think it could be any combination of those. What I think it's important to hear is a real employee, not a boring HR document, talking about the impact that the perks this organization offers, the benefits, and even the corporate culture is able to deliver. And so I think that hearing that in the first person from a future coworker is eminently more powerful than sending a templatized document.
Somebody else wanted to say something about that.
I think that might be a bit too detailed and not worth the money. But the reason you send out benefits package as a third-party recruiter is to make sure once you give the offer, they don't go, let me think about it. What do you think about? Well, do I have the benefits page? It's the pre-close to make sure you don't have those kind of stupid questions.
Okay. Yeah. But here, you go. Somebody want to say something? Go ahead.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Matt says it's at Matt Charney. I didn't introduce him because I was flustered. At MattCharney. Matt Charney. I think he lives in Texas now, but he's always on the road, going from conference to conference. He's the biggest conference whore. That's a technical term. That's a technical term. I didn't make it up. He's the biggest one in the business right now, as far as I can tell. He's everywhere, and he's also the best tweeter. I think coming from me, that's a very high compliment, okay? He's the best tweeter from these conferences. Other people are listening to the content, I guess. He's there thinking about how I can insult somebody, and that's what makes him good. Now, he says when you're writing a blog posting, FOMO is the biggest hook. FOMO. Fear of missing out on something. That's what FOMO stands for. But, Matt, in the book, that's what you say in your How to Write a blog posting article. But in your book, you don't say that. Is there a contradiction in your ideas there?
The audience for the blog post were people who were in content marketing or in recruiting itself. From a recruitment marketing perspective, the audience for the ebook is actual HR and recruiting practitioners at enterprise organizations.
That sounds like the same person to me. There's no difference. You just said they're guys who are writing recruiting marketing material. Okay, so I'll let you make a mistake. Go ahead.
Hey, Animal, you've been confused by some of the stuff he said, right? That's because you're a recruiter and not a marketer. So when he says things and you go, oh, it's not a real answer, I'm going, oh, it's a marketing answer. That's half the problem. It is two audiences. Recruiters
don't take his side against me. Okay, I'll tell you what, but no, 1 sec. I just got to say something. He did use his own advice in the book, okay? Because he uses fear right at the beginning. He said, if getting sued isn't enough of an incentive for you to read my book, well, then you're an idiot. Essentially, he says that. I can give you the exact quote. He uses that at the beginning of his book. He says, you have to write things that are, compliant with all the laws, and if getting sued isn't a good enough reason to read the book, well, stop reading right now. This is going to be a waste of time. Okay, who wanted to say something to me?
His fear model is a good one, combined with the second one of WIFM, what's in it for me, which is where you really appeal to the candidate, the marketplace, etc., and you get a good blog article or a good piece of information out there. The smart people will appreciate it, where the 95% of idiots won't.
Well, Alan Fleur, you raised a question. Matt says, I had this organized so beautifully, but we're all over the place. I guess that's okay. He said the most overlooked question in every job description is that it needs to clearly communicate what's in it for the candidate, and it doesn't do that. Now, I didn't even know what he means by that. Matt Charney.
He's right.
Now. What does it mean?
Read any job description, this is what the company can do for your. This is our company. This is why we're the cool kids on the block. This is the place to work. People are our greatest asset. It's a bunch of genericized statements followed by what the company needs in that position, which is your bulleted list of requirements. Very rarely is there anything in there about, you're probably looking at other companies. Here's why we are different from other opportunities you may look at, and here's what you'd get out of taking this as the next step in your career. That's the missing step, and that's the compelling thing that will lead to conversion.
No, there's probably nothing differentiates the job from other companies, so it's a meaningless statement.
No, what it is that usually legal and human resources people within companies have sanitized it, so you're not allowed to put it in there.
Matt, and that's totally asinine to me. That's a very old school mentality, but you're never going to get sued for having voice and accurately representing the truth in any written content. I don't think you have to have a stick up your ass in order to properly convey a compelling, well-written job description.
Give me an example of what's in it for the candidate. Give me one example. I mean, I didn't see one in the book.
Okay, so we recently hired an editor for recruitingtools.com. What's in it for them is not, well, you'll have a chance to work with a growing content and publishing producer. It's the center of the HR industry. What was in it for that person, and said it in the job description, is you'll get exposure to new and cool products. You'll get to know industry trends from the first-person perspective. You'll be able to grow and advance your personal brand while helping to grow and lead the vision of a destination that helps recruiters everywhere have the tools they need to succeed. Those are much more clear selling points to me than we offer competitive benefits and free pizza.
Okay. I don't know. It sounds like selling a chocolate bar to me. I don't believe anything, okay? It all just sounds like fluff to me. I don't know. What's this thing, Textio.com? You say that you can use this technology to essentially write job orders for you. Am I right about that? Textio.
Yeah, Textio is it's a very interesting technology. So basically it's the former head of semantic search at Microsoft and the former head of search language at Amazon took golden parachutes, put that money, and started this company called Textio. And essentially what it does is it aggregates literally hundreds of thousands of job descriptions and pulls in data points, around language, the type of demographics who are clicking through and applying for these jobs. And really what that then does is it allows you to cut and paste a job description, and it will automatically rewrite that job description to optimize it for what's working on similar job titles in similar markets, right? So who's had the best success in click-throughs to marketing jobs in Toronto? It's got, tens of thousands of those in its database, so it can automatically benchmark against top performers and suggest how you get.
How many people are using that? Is it popular? I don't think.
Well, what? It's in closed beta. It's in closed beta right now, so it's being used by around 25 Fortune 500 companies who are all doing a pilot program. It's going to launch publicly sometime next quarter.
Uh-huh.
So do you need content marketers if you can use Textio? Can't you fire all your content marketers at that point?
Yeah, it can certainly do that. I myself prefer to do the SEO add-ons in WordPress to try to do keyword identification because they're generally tied in with Google Insights. But all that is to say, Textio, I think, because it's so hyper-focused on pulling from a data set that's only based on job descriptions, it's a really good solution for doing this specifically within the space because, as we all know, the keywords, consumer behavior, and targeting are very different selling an employer brand than they are a consumer brand.
Isn't this discriminatory against women who answer job descriptions different than men? Isn't it a giant lawsuit waiting to happen?
Well, actually, the TechSteve does control for that. It shows any gender bias either way in a job description, as well as suggests ways to change it to make it gender neutral. I don't think, with the exception
So it hires gender neutral, not based on talent.
Oh, finally I can hear you, Jim. I don't know what you did. Okay. So hold on a second. Well, I don't want to get into that whole gender issue. What about these statistics that you come up with, Matt? A recent survey showed that 71% of organizations planned on increasing their content marketing budgets over the coming year. That was at the start of 2015. 58% of C-level executives ranked content marketing as one of their most critical business challenges in 2015. I read your How to Write a Blog posting, and it sort of said that, you throw these in, people are suckers for them, but it didn't seem to say that they're necessarily true or significant. But you threw it into your little ebook. Are they significant numbers? What do they mean?
Well, I think that there's a distinction between people who are investing and people who are actually seeing results. That lies in the actual content creation execution of those campaigns. I know that probably makes little sense, and you think I'm speaking in gibberish here. But long story short... No,
I just think you're boring.
Oh, you think I'm boring? That's great.
Well, when you talk about that, I ask a question. I ask a question about what you wrote, and you talk about something else. Let me move on. Forget about this.
Into shitty content, but you can't make that turd shine.
Yeah, that's not what I was talking about. And don't use that word on this show, okay? Original content. You say original. Okay. Oh, here's something I loved from your book. I will teach you how to align. This is your favorite word, align. I will teach you how to align content to every stage of the hiring cycle as a way of developing referrals. Now, we kind of talked about, aligning content to every stage of the hiring cycle. It wasn't as phenomenal as I thought the discussion would be. It just means, when the further the person gets into the hiring process, you start sending them more details about the job, essentially, and you send them some interview information before they go in for the first time. But you're saying that you know how to send content at specific times in the hiring process as a way of developing referrals. You tell us that because we want to know it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would suggest that everyone here go check out the resource library on HubSpot, which basically runs down everything you need to know about inbound marketing. The precedent for what we're talking about has already been set and established through the discipline of inbound marketing. The phases of the recruiting process and the phases of that process almost perfectly align. So you have everything from what's called the consideration phase, which is more or less sourcing, to delight, which is after, you already have a customer, trying to keep them engaged and driving referrals and new business. So by taking the best practices that are already established in the marketing world and simply applying to those to a recruiting process that, yes, is perfectly aligned with that discipline, then you already cracked the code.
Yeah, did I miss something? I asked you how we can get referrals, and you start talking about, okay, go say something on HubSpot. You tell me right now how you can get referrals from sending out content at specific times in the hiring process. Don't talk about another topic, okay?
Yeah,
be handsome.
That should be a continuous call to action in all communications. Who do you know? Always ask, who do you know?
Hold on. Are you asking on the phone, or are you asking in the material that you're sending out to them?
Wait a minute. You just flamed a bunch of recruiters for asking you for recruiting leads or asking for recruiting leads if you don't know recruiters. Now you're saying who do you know is one of the most important things you can ask. Which is it?
Who are you talking to, Alejandro?
Me.
What?
And he put out a tweet. Matt.
I can't hear anybody. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't know what you're saying.
Matt
all I want to know is, hey, before the show's over, Alejandro, before the show's over, the guy tells us in the book, I can get you referrals. How do you get referrals? That's all I'm asking him. He's not a politician. He doesn't have to talk away from the question. Answer the question.
How do you get referrals? You make people inside the organization aware of open jobs and incentivize them for driving them. And for candidates, you simply ask them who they know once you've moved them through the process and targeted them by function, geography, and job family.
Okay, but we're talking about content. We're talking about content marketing, writing content. So is there some content that you're sending out to people to get them to send you referrals? And give us an example if there's something working, okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the content that I send out to get referrals, I do in my job every day, and that's trying to uncover new writers and new voices so we can feature across our website. The way that I do that is I will tap into my database of people, and specifically active contributors to the community, as well as our editorial advisory board. So that's a distinct list. And I will consistently, when communicating out to them, editorial calendar, policy, any sort of news or notes, I'll say, by the way, we're also looking for writers. Here's something that you can send to them. If you have anyone who might be interested in joining us, please feel free to send them this information along with my contact information.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
And that's content.
Okay. But you said here, I'm sorry, everybody, but I just want to nail them down on something. I will teach you how to align content to every stage of the hiring cycle that's going to get you referrals. How does do the referrals refer to the different stages of the hiring cycle? If it was just a throwaway line, just admit it, okay? I don't mind.
No, I won't say it's a throwaway line. I think what it is that you're missing about this concept is that there are always opportunities to generate more candidates from referrals if you already have identified a candidate who is moving ahead beyond the initial sourcing process.
Okay, but what you're saying then is there's nothing significant about it. Whenever you send something out, at the bottom of the page, just say, hey, I'm looking for these people. If you know anybody, send them to me. That's essentially it. You just made it sound fancy in the book and exciting, okay? You did a good job there.
That's content. That's content marketing right there,
Okay. Now, you say the primary metrics for recruiting, and this is how you judge the content marketing as well. Number 1, candidate satisfaction. Number 2, application start to submission ratios. Application start to submission ratios. And number 3, candidate experience. Candidate satisfaction and candidate experience, they sound very similar to me. Are they different?
Yeah, so candidate experience is, I would define it as the overall interactions that somebody has while actively in a recruiting process with a company. So what they experience as they move from applicant to candidate and ultimately hire. That's a candidate experience. Now, candidate satisfaction is obviously linked to that, but at the same time isn't necessarily dependent on just recruiting, but rather looks at the concept of net promoter score to say, was your experience good enough, regardless of outcome, where you would recommend applying for a job here to a family member or friend. So they're a little bit differentiated.
Yeah, it's very confusing. I don't know. I think it is. Okay.
That's why.
Okay. Now you say Glassdoor. You should have a Glassdoor page and put this content marketing in your Glassdoor page. What's with Glassdoor? Are you free to, give your honest opinions about Glassdoor if they're advertising with you? Matt is the editor of Recruiting Daily and RecruitingBlogs.com, so, I don't want him to lose money, but I'm asking you.
No, I should point out my editorial and my sales are completely firewall. There's a Chinese wall between them, and one does not impact the other. So I can speak completely honestly about Glassdoor. And it is this, Glassdoor right now is starting to buy millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of paid job seeker traffic, specifically targeting keywords and phrases around your brand. So, for instance, they're bidding on things like working at Cisco, right? So if I'm a candidate at Cisco and I type that into Google, guess where I'm going? I'm going to a Glassdoor page where, oh yes, I'll also see open job descriptions at that company and those of competitors. So I do think that it's really incumbent to actively manage a Glassdoor profile, because in as much as search engines determine our perception of reality, you have to help control that reality by actually, being a voice on Glassdoor rather than just letting people talk.
Okay, we're almost out of time. So LinkedIn Pulse, you said LinkedIn Pulse is for dumbasses.
Yes.
You said it this morning. You said it this morning. Don't tell me I'm talking about something irrelevant.
Yeah, no, LinkedIn Pulse is, and I can think of no better phrase, this is why they'll no longer talk to me, it is the dumpster of online content, which is to say people just post whatever there, it shows up in your feed, and it's literally some of the worst crap that you've ever seen in your life.
You know, I'm going to have to take that out, okay?
It's
not that anyone can
true.
hear you, really, anyway. Okay, so should people...
Does anybody even subscribe to that anymore?
Go ahead, Matt. Answer Michael Cox.
If you want to see math problems...
Hold on. Everybody we know who's in, putting out the social media content all the time, they're all publishing on LinkedIn. And we had, we had John Rose was on, I don't know how long ago, and he said he got two assignments because of some of his publications on LinkedIn. So I'm not ready to, I've never published anything there, but I'm not ready to believe that it's not worthwhile. Matt Charney seems to be saying it's a garbage dump in a more vulgar way.
Yes, I did. And here's the thing. When you put content on LinkedIn and publish it, what you're doing is you're giving them the right in perpetuity to use your intellectual property, even if it appeared on another site first, so that they can sell ad space around it, right? That's what you're doing. Whereas I don't publish on Publisher. What I do is I will share links to my external content as a status update, and guess what? The traffic results from that are just as good as really any publishing post. We get shared on LinkedIn more than LinkedIn's own blog as a general rule. So that being said, I think there are ways to tap into that community without also sacrificing your own writing.
Okay. Anybody? There's 5 minutes left. Anybody have a question for Matt? Since I'm dumb, I don't ask the best questions. It's open. Go ahead.
Matt,
5, 4.
Why do you think Animal is dumb and doesn't ask any good questions?
No, because you guys tell me you don't understand what's going on. That's all I ever hear. I got lots more questions if you don't want to ask a question. Nobody's got a question?
Alejandro had a good one.
No, I didn't like that question.
See what I'm talking about?
Okay, so he said some interesting things about video. He said, get the hiring manager on video talking about how he or she hires people, what their background is, what they're interested in looking for people, make it under 3 minutes and post it on YouTube. And he said you don't have to spend a lot of money on a camera or anything like that. It can be cinema verite, and that's going to be really good. I kind of like that idea. What do you think? Anybody? Or Matt, you want to expand on it?
Yeah, anything that looks slick and professionally polished generally tends to lose a huge degree of that whole authenticity.
No, but I mean, these hiring managers, can they speak in an interesting manner, or is it going to be as dry as dust?
It's either way, you're going to give candidates a pretty fair look at the potential person they'll be reporting to.
Okay. You say good content surprises and delights your audience. So ditch the talking heads and shots of your office, but then you go ahead and say, show your employees having fun at work. It sends a powerful message to passive candidates who aren't. Isn't that what every employment branding video does? It shows the people doing stuff they don't normally do at work. They're singing and dancing and wearing costumes and having fun. That's not work.
I think that the ideal mix there is showing people who work for your company doing things that aren't at work, because it's what we do outside of the office that really defines who we are and what we bring. So I think that's the interesting stuff, is the stuff that's not on a resume. Same thing as an interview. That's the stuff I want to know, not what you do in your job as a QA associate at a manufacturing plant.
Yeah, I think you're wrong. You're way off wrong. What about recruiters who just post job tweets? I'll ask you a few lightning round. I borrowed that from Steve. Lightning round questions. Job tweets. Just job tweets on their Twitter feed. Good or bad?
Don't waste your time.
Why?
Because the chances of you finding a highly specialized role and a candidate who's paying attention to a feed like that in the millions and millions of tweets sent every minute are very, very, very low, if not, nil.
Automated tweets, good or bad?
Depends on how you're automating them. I think scheduling them's okay. I think automatically pushing out through a feed so that every time a post happens, it automatically populates, I think that's bad. Because you're not curating the stuff that's coming from your handle.
Okay. When you're writing a blog, no long introductions. Get right to the point. I'm very much in agreement with you about that. Anything to add to it?
I think that's ironic given the opening monologue and 5 minutes of banter before we started our conversation.
Well, maybe I don't do it on the show. Maybe, and today especially, okay? And maybe my monologue is not an introduction to the show. It's something in itself. You think I should get rid of it?
Well, I think that the point of these long leads is to set tone and get people comfortable for the message, so I would say that those are some more goals.
Okay. Anything that you have to tell recruiters that recruiters don't know, and it's important for them to know?
Yeah, here's what I have to say is that it really, all of this comes down to building a persona. An Animal, with all due respect, you've done a better job of that than anyone. You chose to create this Animal character who's not Michael. He's the antithesis of Michael, but he is a consistently strong voice who is always coming with something edgy and something entertaining. You've basically set a great precedent. I try to do that as hyperbolized.
But don't kiss my ass at the end of the show. I remember the other things you've said about me. You said clearly, I like Michael, I don't like Animal, okay? I remember you saying that, so lay off, okay? Anything else?
Everybody said that at least once in their recruiting Animal history.
Unfortunately, there's no after show. There's no after show.
I'm angry because someone said he did something right.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm just really frustrated that I couldn't get on the show properly today. It just bugs me. After all this time, I can't get on the show. I mean, then my guests, half the people calling in, you can't hear them. The sound is a very important thing. Okay, Matt, is there anything, where can people, what's the name of your personal website?
It's Narc Attack, which is mattcharney.com.
Matt Charney, MattCharney. Matt likes to think of himself as Turtle. I love that show, Entourage, and he's kind of like Turtle, a little less heavy. Anything else that we should know before we let you go? We didn't get even halfway into this, so we'll have you back someday. You were on 2 years ago. I guess we'll see you. We'll see you in 2017. Thank you, Matt Charney!